I have a massive sweet tooth, and there's nothing more satisfying for my chocolate-based cravings than baking something with my own 2 hands to devour like a goblin in one sitting. As a result, I've become something of an amateur baker. I think I'd stand a good chance of surviving biscuit and probably cake weeks on the Great British Bake Off, but anything complicated enough to land me a starring role in a YouTube fails compilation, I avoid like the plague.
Who is responsible for this?
Show me a technical challenge with a list of ingredients and no instructions, and I'll show you a nervous breakdown.
I'm not taking that out of the oven. It's like a soup.
So, in an attempt to step outside my comfort zone, in a cute, nostalgic, and less intimidating way than facing the judgment of Mary Berry, I wondered if it would be possible to learn to bake using only instructions from Cooking Mama. I never actually owned a copy of Cooking Mama as a child. Perhaps my parents didn't want to enforce stereotypes, but whenever I got the chance to play it at a friend's house, I jumped at it. And what better way to gently coax me out of my pastryless comfort zone than to go back to a childhood classic? I'm going to attempt to make 3 of Mama's recipes, ranging in difficulty from Family Chef to Veteran Chef, and as my final boss, attempting a Special Chef difficulty recipe, which, if I manage to master, will earn me this shiny badge and prove that a Nintendo DS can teach you how to bake. I'm using the latest Cooking Mama game, Let's Cook, as my recipe book because it's a good blend of all the classic Cooking Mama games, and has a huge selection of sweet treats from throughout the series. I thought it would be best to start somewhere familiar, with a dessert I've made before, a tutorial level if you will, a baseline to gauge my ability, or my lack of ability. Let's bake gourmet cupcakes. The first rule of baking is to not get hair inside your food. It's happened before, it does not taste good. Now that we've made sure we're not going to break rule number 1, let's make sure we have all the ingredients. Mama's cupcake recipe asks for eggs, butter, granulated sugar, white flour, fresh cream, vanilla extract, strawberries, blueberries, chocolate toppings, and finally, Christmas toppings? Mama, please, it's September. My biggest challenge is that Mama is more of a show don't tell kind of person and doesn't provide any actual measurements. Apart from one banana muffin recipe from Cooking Mama 3, where Mama asks for 30 grams of baking powder, which is a choice. But for the recipes I've chosen, there are no measurements, which might honestly be better. I'll just have to bake based off of the ratios I can see. It's okay. Mama believes in me. I think. Undeterred by my lack of measurements, I eyeballed the cupcake ingredients in roughly equal quantities, making use of a tip I'd learned from my grandma's secret cake recipe. I was pretty concerned I'd messed something up, as the cake batter was much more solid than I was used to, but I decided to press on anyway and see if they rose in the oven. I was relying on Mama not to lead me astray. I don't have an electric whisk, and I'm not buying one just to whip cream. So we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. This is why I do Pilates, for the pastry. This would turn out to be a mistake, as whipping cream by hand takes a huge amount of effort and no small amount of risk for repetitive strain injury. Ow. I'm out of breath. Mama was right. I should have got an electric whisk. I pressed onwards with my slightly sad-looking whipped cream, piping the best I could, since whisking to make it any more solid would cause my arm to detach from my shoulder. I dropped half a packet of strawberries on the floor in my decorating efforts, but in the end I think I got pretty close to Mama's example. We did it, everyone. Hard part is over. Well, the first hard part. And that means it's time for the verdict. Mama rates your creations via a 3-heart system. 3 hearts for perfect, even better than Mama, and 0 hearts for I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. So to stay true to Mama's judging system, I'll be grading myself on the same system across 3 categories. The process. How closely did I follow Mama's instructions? Did I copy them exactly? Or would Mama dock me a point for spilling cupcake batter all over the floor? Appearance. Does it at least bear a passing resemblance to what Mama made? Or is it more reminiscent of modern art? Not in a good way. And finally, perhaps the most important, taste. Is it edible, or is it destined for the bin? If I can't earn 3 hearts for cupcakes, I think we might be in trouble. Number 1. The process. I followed Mama's recipe exactly. I played the mini-game, I measured my ingredients according to what it looked like, stopping for each step to follow along in real life. I don't know how I could have followed that any closer. I think for the process, I earned 1 heart. Now, for appearance. I would say that I did a pretty good job. They do at least have a passing resemblance to what Mama made, even if I didn't use her Christmas decorations. The whipped cream's a little melty, but overall, I think I've earned that heart. And finally, taste. I know that I might be biased because I made them with my own hands, but they taste good. Definitely not worthy of the bin. The texture is perfect, It melts in your mouth in a really nice cupcakey way. Not too dry, not too crumbly. It's really sweet because of all the sugar in the cupcake and in the whipped cream. And it's a very delicate flavor. My whipped cream isn't holding particularly well. They are a bit hard to eat, but overall, I feel confident in saying that Mama would give me 3 hearts. Which is good because it's only going to get harder from here. After passing out from sugar-induced exhaustion, I made sure to get a good night's rest in preparation for the next day of baking challenges. It's a new day. The satisfaction from my success is gone, and so are the cupcakes. Which means it's time to step it up. Veteran chef difficulty, where things can actually go wrong. Let's make apple pies. I have never attempted anything like mini pies before, so I'm excited to see where these are going to fall on the scale of why have I never made these before, I'm gonna eat 5, to inedible, soggy, and disappointing. Once again, we have no measurements, only vibes. So I suppose we're going to make as many pies as I end up making filling for. Will it be 1? Will it be 20? Nobody knows. It's all part of the fun of cooking with Mama. For Mama's apple pies, we need apples, lemon juice, sugar, cinnamon, ready-made puff pastry, and eggs. While the apple pie recipe had less ingredients, thanks to the ready-made pastry, I was more concerned about how these would turn out than I had been about the cupcakes. It was a brand new undertaking for me, and there were so many things that could go wrong. Would the filling taste bad? Would the apples even cook? Would it be too thin and make the pies soggy and sad? At least I didn't have to worry about how to make puff pastry from scratch. Yet. I set my doubts aside and cut out my pie shapes, continuing to follow Cooking Mama's instructions. I filled, sealed, and washed them with egg, and baked them for 20 minutes like Mama told me. If these turned out well, maybe I would be able to tackle something even harder, and try making my own pastry for once. That was actually easier than I expected, but it took way longer. I think Mama has super secret fast boiling powers or something. Hopefully, they don't taste terrible. Only one way to find out. It's time for the verdict. Once again, I will be rating myself on a 3-heart system. It may seem biased to be rating myself, but don't worry, I have enlisted the help of a totally impartial judge for the final baking challenge, to make sure I'm not being far too kind to myself. Not that that's ever happened before. First up, the process. I am so good at following instructions, if I do say so myself. I eyeballed all the ingredients, just like Mama showed me, and I followed her every command to a T. I even looked closely at how the apples changed in the game, so that I knew how long to cook them for. So, for process, I'd say that I've earned the heart. Next is appearance. I would say they're fairly indistinguishable from the ones in the game. Maybe they're a little rougher around the edges, but they are heart-shaped and they are golden brown. So for appearance, I think I've earned the heart. And finally, what matters most? Taste.
Hot.
First off, the pastry is cooked, which is an excellent start. The filling has a strong and very sweet apple taste, thanks to all that sugar that I added. And overall, it definitely tastes like a good apple pie. I'll definitely be eating too many of them in one go, and they won't be going in the bin. And perhaps most importantly, the pastry is crispy, and there are no soggy bottoms. So on that basis, I think I've earned the heart for taste. 3 out of 3 hearts again. Maybe I am being too nice to myself. Or maybe Mama is a good teacher. But there's no time for celebration. I'm about to ramp up the difficulty, double the stakes, and put Cooking Mama to the ultimate test. If I can learn how to make an eclair, a pastry that will turn into scrambled egg soup if you look at it wrong, then it's proof that Cooking Mama really can teach you how to bake. And if not, then I've spent a lot of money on butter for nothing. So let's hope that Mama's faith in me has not been misplaced. But before I could even preheat the oven, I realized I had a pretty huge problem, a small detail that Mama left out, that might completely destroy my chances of success before even attempting my most difficult recipe yet.
Right, I wish I were dead.
Mama's Eclair recipe starts with squeezing out the Eclair dough ready to be baked. But unlike the apple pie crust, there's no pre-made choux pastry that I can buy from a supermarket. And to be honest, I wouldn't feel like I'd earned my special chef title anyway if I cheated by buying basically the entire dish. So I need to do some detective work. Maybe this is why it's a special chef level recipe. I scoured the Cooking Mama archives, searching for profiteroles or anything that could teach me how to make the pastry I was missing, and luckily, I found it. In Cooking Mama 3 for the Nintendo DS, Mama teaches you how to make eclairs, and tells you how to make the secret pastry recipe. I think Mama is assuming that I've already played through every single Cooking Mama game, and just didn't want to bore me with repetition. Sadly, I can barely remember where I left my whisk, let alone what I was up to in 2009. Mama, please lower your expectations. Armed with not one, but 2 Cooking Mama recipes, I am ready for my final test. Let's bake eclairs. You know the deal, no measurements, only mama. For eclairs, we need water, salt, butter, sugar, flour, and egg for the pastry, whipped cream, strawberries, and chocolate ganache made of something that probably isn't just chocolate for the fillings. Because choux pastry is made in a hot pan, my main concern was that the dough would be too hot when I added the eggs, and they would scramble, creating a disgusting mess of egg and uncooked pastry. The ratios were also quite hard to guess, as mixing well was crucial to get everything to combine properly, and what might look like too much flour or egg could easily end up being not enough and stop it from rising in the oven. I don't think I've scrambled any egg just yet, so far so good. While I piped out my unscrambled dough, I prayed to Cooking Mama that I was making them thick enough and they would actually rise in the oven. At this stage, there was really no way of knowing. Now that my eclairs are piped and in the oven, I have no idea if they're the right size or not, or how long they'll take. But we'll see. I need to try and make a chocolate ganache for the topping. Mama does not tell me how to do this, but I'm sure that as an almost special level chef, I can figure it out. Ganache is basically just chocolate and fat, so I'm thinking if I take some chocolate, combine it with some warm milk and some butter, it will turn into some kind of ganache that will taste nice. Satisfied that 17 seasons of Bake Off had at least taught me how to freestyle some ganache, chocolate soup, I began to smell burning, and luckily arrived just in time to save my eclairs.
It was close, but they aren't crispy yet, so I think we're good.
I sliced my well-browned eclairs at lightning speed as instructed, and filled them with more hand-whipped cream
Ow.
and custard. I assumed that was what the yellow cream Mama pulled out with no warning was. I recruited a volunteer to help me place the strawberries as Mama instructed, trying and occasionally failing to catch them as they fell from the sky. This was not the most efficient method of eclair decoration, but it sure was fun, and who am I to question Mama? Freshly out of strawberries and chocolate, I dipped the top halves of my eclairs in my ganache and assembled them, thinking that they were probably close enough to what Mama wanted. I was pretty tired from my baking gauntlet and was not about to try and make ganache in 3 different colours. The eclairs are baked, the kitchen is destroyed, and there is chocolate all over my apron. It can only be time for the final verdict. To keep things fair, I've brought in a certified expert. No, it's not Mama. It's my fiancé, whose only credentials include needing a sweet little treat at the end of each day and a lifelong commitment to inhaling as much sugar as humanly possible.
Hello.
Do you solemnly swear to be unbiased in your judgment of these eclairs?
I do.
Then let's begin. Once again, I will be judged on Mama's 3 heart criteria of process, appearance, and taste. Since having another person in the kitchen while I'm trying to use the kitchen turns me into a territorial raccoon with a whisk, I'll have to judge the process myself. Doing my best to follow the instructions from not 1, but 2 Cooking Mama tutorials, I would say I did well. I even pulled off some bake-off style ganache. Considering I'm not looking at scrambled egg soup right now, I would say that I earned the process heart. Moving on to appearance. This is what Mama's eclairs look like.
They're very fancy. They got loads of stuff on top.
And drumroll please, these are my eclairs. Ooh. How would you say that they compare?
I'd like to eat these. They look very good.
Have I earned the heart for appearance?
You definitely put the best one at the front. This one looks the best out of the 3, but I'd say this one definitely meets the criteria. Don't look at these guys. This guy adds you the heart. Congratulations. I'll take care of these 2.
Relationship still intact so far. Now it's time for the final test. The deciding factor on whether or not Cooking Mama can teach you how to bake. The taste test. What do you think?
They're very good. I like the strawberry. It's so balanced. I've never had one with a strawberry in. They're very hard to pick up, and that's the sign of a well-stuffed pastry. Help.
Would you say that I've earned the heart for taste?
Maybe I have to taste test a few more times. Just take these away, just to make sure it passes.
That's some good unbiased feedback if you ask me. Before you disappear to eat all of the eclairs, do you think that I've done well enough across all of my bakes to earn my special chef badge?
I think all of them were really good and different to what you would usually get, so I would say that you've definitely learned something.
There you have it. I've definitely learned something. And really, that's all that matters.
Goodbye.
He's gone. After another night of eating enough sugar to knock out a small horse, I wanted to take some time to reflect on my Cooking Mama experience and try to quantify exactly what that special something I learned was. Cooking Mama is only sort of like real baking. For one thing, it sets unrealistic time expectations, as my eclairs took me about 4 hours instead of 4 minutes. I did have access to the steps of the recipe and the ingredients, but guessing the measurements is a chaotic way to bake something that, while fun, is pretty likely to result in an inedible mess. But while Mama didn't give me the technical details, she was extremely good at one thing: pushing me out of my comfort zone. Gamifying baking and shifting my perspective on trying something new from a waste of good ingredients to wouldn't it be cool if this actually worked, gave me the confidence to try things I'd normally avoid, without the looming threat of Paul Hollywood's blue-eyed judgment. Cooking Mama was a comforting presence, a rose-tinted instruction manual that made me think everything would be okay, even if I did drop strawberries on the floor or almost burn the house down with my eclairs. That special something I learned was to be more fearless, not allow myself to get stuck inside a box of my own making, and be confident that trying something new isn't something to be scared of, even if it doesn't work out quite how I imagined. So, can Cooking Mama teach you how to bake? Sort of. Mama can show you the motions, but she can't stop you from eating a little too much raw cake batter or getting RSI by whipping cream by hand for 20 minutes. Twice.